Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Barakah Kodash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to Ya'akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'll be reading from an article on RT.com titled, Threat of Using Nukes Grows Bigger Under Trump, and Renewing Milestone START Treaty May Be Too Late, Noam Chomsky tells RT. And the reason that the threat of using nuclear weapons is growing is because the Most High, whose true name is Yahweh, is putting the spirit on these different heathen nations to build back up their nuclear arsenals so they can shoot their nuclear missiles at each other in an upcoming nuclear conflict, World War III, and it's all a part of biblical prophecy. This is 2 Peter chapter 3, I'm going to read verse 10 to 12. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. And what could possibly cause the elements to melt with fervent heat and to burn up the works in the earth? And it's not volcanoes, it's those nuclear-tipped ICBMs, which will again be shot to the ends of the earth. And that's going to take place after the mark of the beast, which is the RFID/NFC microchip implant is mandatorily implemented. Verse 11, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved by that fervent heat, what manner of person ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? What manner of person ought you sincere Akim to be, seeing that all these end times prophecies are beginning to come to their fulfillment, and that the second coming of Yahushai HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, is right around the corner? You should have all 10 toes down in this truth, pushing this word as hard as you possibly can to make your calling and election sure, so you can be saved from the coming calamities of Jacob's trouble and ultimately these nuclear missiles. Going out to the highways and byways pushing this word, putting up video epistles like this, following the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai to the best of your abilities, praying, fasting, etc., etc., whatever you need to do to keep in the good graces of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, looking for and hastening unto the coming of the day of the Most High. And if you're truly about this truth, you should be praying that this day happens as soon as possible, because we know that when the mark of the beast is mandatorily implemented, then those nuclear missiles are going to fly, and then comes the kingdom of heaven, which is going to be eternal, wherein the heavens, being on fire, shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. While the Democrats' record on arms control doesn't look good at all, it's no match for that of Donald Trump, who is amplifying the risk of nuclear weapons being put to use, world-renowned intellectual Noam Chomsky opined on RT. And with the way things are looking to me, Trump's going to be the one to kick off these nuclear fireworks. I don't see Sleepy Joe or anybody else getting the job done. Ever since Donald Trump was selected to be the president of the United States of America, things have been going into overdrive. This whole coronavirus pandemic has taken the world by storm. The U.S. has never been more divided internally. The U.S. has never been more at odds with its allies. And as we'll see from this article, Trump has been the cause for the U.S. to leave important nuclear weapons peace and deterrent treaties. And Trump has also heavily pushed for the U.S. to build back up its nuclear arsenal. But at the end of the day, whether it's Trump or somebody else, this nuclear destruction will take place, and it's coming quickly. Chomsky, one of the most cited political thinkers of our time, made the remarkable point while speaking to RT's Going Underground program. The U.S. president is racing towards maximizing the threat of nuclear weapons, he proclaimed, invoking the doomsday clock, which metaphorically measures time until a global disaster. That's why the famous doomsday clock has been moved closer to midnight, every year Trump has been in office, Chomsky said to back up the claim. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, a group of scientists and academics managing the clock, has abandoned minutes and moved to seconds, 100 seconds to midnight, this January, the intellectual said. A vocal critic of U.S. interventionism and historically not a fan of Trump, Chomsky insisted that the president, who isn't shy of bragging about America's nuclear deterrent, has continued his attacks on arms control regime, which has somewhat limited the enormous threat of nuclear destruction. Chomsky continued by listing the milestone treaties abandoned or endangered by the Trump administration. Among them was the 1987 U.S.-Soviet Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces, INF, which banned an entire class of weapons systems, as well as the 2002 Open Skies Treaty, OST, which allowed, as a trust-building measure, for unarmed surveillance flights over the entire territory of 35 participants. While brushing aside existing restraints, Trump's U.S. is moving towards creating new and far more threatening weapons of destruction against which there is no possible means of defense, Chomsky said, apparently referring to the Pentagon's latest technological advances in building hypersonic weapons. Further unloading on Trump, Chomsky mentioned the last major arms control agreement standing. He's now delayed, on frivolous grounds, renewal of the New START Treaty, he said. The binding document, signed by then-President Barack Obama and Dmitry Medvedev 10 years ago, called for halving the number of strategic nuclear missile launchers in use by both sides and set limits for deployed nuclear warheads. New START is set to expire in February of 2021, but hopes for prolonging it are fading away. Russia has consistently said it is willing to extend the pact without preconditions for another 5 years, however, not at any cost. The U.S. has made the renewal conditional on China being included in a new trilateral arms control deal. To Chomsky, the moment of doing so is already past us. It may be too late to renew it, he suggested, and it was always too late because everything that's been written down in the scriptures is set in stone. As it says in Isaiah 55 verse 11, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. And nuclear destruction is what the Most High has planned for this world and for all the wickedness the people have been committing in it. This is Revelation chapter 9 verse 12. One woe or destruction is past, referring to World War I, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. World War II, which is past, and this upcoming nuclear-armed World War III, when the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and the works in the earth shall be burned up. This is Joel chapter 2. I'm going to read verse 1 to 8. Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahweh cometh, for it is nigh at hand, and it's very nigh at hand. And the men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, are the ones that are blowing the trumpet in Zion by going out to the highways and byways to preach this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this to warn you Israelites and heathens of the terrible times to come, and to tell the hopeful elect what they need to do to get back into the good graces of their power, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, so that they can be saved from this coming nuclear destruction. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. And that great people and a strong is referring to those nuclear missiles. And where it says there hath not been ever the like, it's talking about how these nuclear weapons came about very recently, beginning with those 2 atomic bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima during World War II, And where it says, neither shall be any more after it. When these nuclear missiles are fired, every single one of them is going to be used. And after the dust settles, the elect are going to enslave you heathen nations, and we're not going to allow you to build weapons of war anymore. A fire devoureth before them, that nuclear-tipped warhead, and behind them a flame burneth, that destruction it leaves behind. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them. Before that nuclear warhead detonates, the land looks normal. You've got cities and parks and forests and animals and people going about their daily lives, and behind them, a desolate wilderness. After that warhead detonates, it turns the land into a desolate wasteland, like the Mad Max movies or the Fallout video games. Yeah, and nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. And the reason the prophet Joel is describing these nuclear missiles as a great people, as well as chariots and horsemen, is because he didn't know what a nuclear-tipped ICBM was when he wrote these prophecies down thousands of years ago. So he had to describe it the best way he could with what he knew during his time. Ancient weapons of war like chariots, horsemen, bows and arrows, flying swords, spears, javelins, etc., etc. Before their face the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness from being burned up. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march, everyone on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk, everyone in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. And where it says they shall not break their ranks, and that everyone shall walk on his path, when these nuclear missiles are fired, angels are going to be on these missiles, guiding them to their targets, which they're going to hit without a hitch. And that sword that they're going to fall upon and not be wounded by is referring to these anti-missile defense systems, which are going to fail in that day. And when these nuclear missiles are shot to the ends of the earth, a lot of places are going to take massive amounts of damage, but they're still going to be habitable. The one place that's going to be utterly annihilated and made completely uninhabitable is going to be the United States of America. Now I'm going to close it out in Isaiah chapter 13, verse 17 to 20. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them. And that's not talking about the ancient Medes. It's talking about these modern day spiritual Medes, the Russian Edomites. And besides being known as the Medes, the Russians are also known as Gog and Magog in Ezekiel chapter 38, and the North Country in Jeremiah 50 verse 9, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. When the time comes for the Most High to put the Spirit on these heathen nations to shoot their nuclear missiles, nothing will happen to stop them from shooting their nuclear missiles. No nuclear weapons deterrent treaties, peace talks, etc., etc. And it's not just going to be Russia and its allies like China, Iran, and North Korea that are going to shoot their nuclear missiles onto the U.S. The U.S.'s own allies are going to turn against her and ally themselves with Russia in that day to shoot their nuclear missiles onto America as well, such as Britain, France, Germany, and these other NATO nations. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and those bows are referring to the silos that are going to fire those nuclear missiles. And they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. Anyone that's in the United States of America and that is not an elect Israelite that gets beamed up on the chariot is going to be utterly burned up by these nuclear missiles. And Babylon, the United States of America, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And besides being known as Babylon the Great in the scriptures, the United States of America is also known as spiritual Sodom and Egypt, as pursuant to Revelation 11 verse 8. and it's easy to see why the United States is referred to as spiritual Sodom in Revelation 11 verse 8. It's the main nation that's pushing this LGBTQ agenda, as well as a bunch of other abhorrent abominations onto the earth through its media, Hollywood, and other platforms, which is just one of the myriad of reasons why all these nations are mad at the U.S. and are going to shoot their nuclear missiles onto it. And how did the Most High overthrow ancient Sodom and Gomorrah? With fire and brimstone from the sky. And he's going to overthrow this modern day Sodom and Gomorrah with modern fire and brimstone from the sky, those nuclear tipped ICBMs. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their folds there. When these nuclear missiles hit the United States of America, it's going to be turned into the biblical lake of fire from sea to shining sea, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland afterwards that's going to stand as a memorial as to what a wicked kingdom looks like and how not to govern the earth. So with this video, I hope you sincere Akim were edified. Just keep strong and keep pushing this word. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathens, chiefly Esau, Edom. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.